If your 928 alternator cooling hose looks like this, or maybe it's missing, maybe you didn't even know you had one, I'll show you how to replace it cheap. Alright, well, welcome to underneath your 928. Here is the alternator, and here is the cooling hose shroud that wraps around the back of the alternator here. Now, you may not have one of those either. That might be missing. This is just a plastic piece, and very often they've come undone and not got replaced if the alternator has been replaced. Now, this is an expensive alternator, so, and given where it's tucked underneath the car, that cooling hose really makes a difference in the life of the alternator. Of course, here's the air dam. I have this off now. I think you can do this with it on, but I think it's much easier to have it off. In my case, there was a number of rusted and broken pieces of hardware, so I'm just repairing that and cleaning that up. But here is the old hose. It's like a fabric and wire and grease impregnated tube, and it was just rotten and crushed and kind of a mess. And when the air dam on mine came off, there's a collar in between these two pieces. That's actually where your, find that, it's like here is your outside air temperature sender that goes into this tube here. And so mine was ripped off. I've gone ahead and spliced a new plug on it and one under the car. So I'll be replacing that. And what I'm going to use, because this hose is NLA, no longer available, I'm going to try to use this flexible exhaust pipe here. This is, I think, a 2.5 inch diameter, inside diameter, and I have a coupling. Again, this must be done in two pieces, so you have a coupling built in here, but I might need more than one piece of this, which is, I think, maybe 18 inches long when extended. So I bought two of them, but these are cheap. All right, well, here we go. All right, so as I said, so here's the old tube, and you can see it was all crushed up. This actually, believe it or not, by design goes through here onto the shroud, then turns and goes up and does a little hook loop where that sensor sits. And so that's why it's all crushed and collapsed, and it's exposed to the road debris at the bottom. So these typically get torn up. Now I have this tubing, it's flexible and it bends. It's rather stiff, but I can slide that over the shroud pretty well. And it looks like I'll be able to make a tight enough turn to get in there. The problem is this is just a little tight. I know I can crush this, but one of the things I think might be a better way to go is this bracket here, which holds the lower A-arm and has some kind of a tow hook thing, I guess. I can take this off. I don't want to clean this up in here anyway. And I could run this tube, and then I can put that bracket back on and crush that right in place when I get it where I want. So should be able to take this off without interfering with anything with the suspension at all. I'm just gonna, just for the hell of it, brace up the bottom of the control arm before I do that. So let me set that up and I'll bring you back. All right, so again, just unbolted this bracket here and took it off. This lower control arm mount didn't move at all, but I did brace it up with a jack stand. I got this all cleaned up, but that'll give me a clear shot to run that pipe through here and up here. I also pulled the wheel off. You get a better access to it from inside. I had my inner fender liners already off for cleaning and repair. This is the inner one. the inner of the inner. You can see this has a little pocket in it that goes around the ABS pump up here, inside there. I have my light on there too well. This piece here, and the same on the other side, they're supposed to have this foam in these grooves to seal it all around. If your car's like mine, it'll be all disintegrated. You can buy those for a big chunk of money. Or what I'm trying is I bought some pipe insulation. This is the outdoor stuff like you put like on your AC unit, not the indoor foam. This is the heavy, thicker closed foam, and I've split that in half. And you can put this in the groove like that and fold it over, and it's just enough filler to fit tight up against the inner fender of the car. So again, another cost-saving tip if you want to go that route. I think it'll work fine. Alright, so I've expanded this pipe, and I'm going to try to fit that on there. It's going to be larger than that shroud diameter, but this next smaller one, which I think is 2 1/4, would not fit on there. So I'm going to slide that all the way down. I can see that I can't completely bend that all the way, but I'm going to take that and bend this part up, and then I'm going to try to force this down a little closer. I don't think there's any way to avoid collapsing this pipe somewhat, so I'll probably be getting the BFH out for that. Alright, as you can see, I've got the bracket on there loosely. I put one bolt up here, and I pivoted the bracket over just enough to start these two large lower control arm mount bolts. I've got the tube pinched in there, and it's making its own sort of clearance. If I just tighten these bolts down, this should readily compress that tubing. Again, it's just light gauge flex exhaust tubing. I kind of crushed it with my hands a little bit, so. I'm just going to snug these up for now. I'll have to look up what the proper torque setting is for those. But that's in there all the way. Then I'll just put the other bolt on this upper part of the bracket in place, and I will work on the second half of the tubing, which is curving this here up and putting the loop in it and the tube with the temperature sensor. Alright, here we are so far. Hopefully I can show this without my fat head getting in the way. Here's the tube that comes up into the wheel well, and based on what I see there, how far that went, I don't really want to, or do I have room to put the second one in, because I can't get that tight of a radius on it. Like, this is the old short piece of tube that was on there before, and I've stuck the collar for the temperature sensor, and this was actually folded over quite tightly like this and tie wrapped and attached to that inner fender that goes here. But I can get this on right here. Luckily this piece is, yeah, I think it's usable. There's a couple of holes in it, but it doesn't really matter. All this is doing is keeping the this tube from getting drenched with water. You know, there's a crack up here, you know, between the headlight and the fender where water can come in. So this is just like I guess a snorkel. But I think I can attach this tube like this, put a hose clamp on the flex tube, tie wrap this around, and of course here's the connector, the other end for the temperature sensor. So I will put all that in together then give you a little bit of a close-up look at that. You good boy? Hey, buddy. All right, let's check it out. So this pipe is stiff enough that I don't think I need to do anything to attach it here. As you saw, they give you a pipe clamp, and I use that to squish down the end of the pipe and to get it to fit on the coupling for the temperature sensor. I reused the old snorkel part of the hose and just curved that around. I'm sure in the back it's not touching the headlight. Maybe that's a little better. Make sure it's not touching the headlight. So there's plenty of room here when the headlight is in the down position. And that will sit there just fine. I don't think I even really need to put a wrap of any kind on there. But we'll drive around, we'll see if it's rattling at all. But man, that looks pretty secure to me. So that should wrap up the alternator cooling hose on a budget project. Thanks for watching.